Schon.
Welcome back to another episode of Finanzdiva's Cryptogram and Rette dein Geld. Today, the crypto expert Demelza Hays joins us. We will talk about Bitcoin and other high flyers in the world of cryptocurrencies. Demelza, are you ready?
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
You're an American citizen. What's your perception about Germans and what do you think about the cryptocurrency scene in Germany?
Ooh, my perception about Germans, let's see, that can get a little bit controversial quickly, I guess. Well, I've been living in Liechtenstein for the last 5 years, so I would say my most experience is probably with Liechtensteiners and Austrians, but you know, I did spend a lot of time in Baden-Württemberg in southern Germany. And I would say overall, you know, in terms of finance, they're very risk averse. So it's really hard to pitch them the topic of cryptocurrencies. For example, if you go into a family office or a bank and you try to discuss, you know, the cryptocurrencies with them, or if you want to try to sell them a crypto fund, for example, which is what I was trying to do for many years, they're mostly interested in safe investments, equities and bonds. And it was a really hard sell for a lot of the people I spoke to. However, you know, on the other hand, you have a lot of people that understand the technology really well, and it's not so hard for them to understand what the main benefits are of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. So, I mean, overall, I guess, yeah, I would say it's more risk averse than what I'm used to in the US. But on the other hand, it's, you know, there's a lot of trained professionals that are really educating themselves on the topic, which is also maybe different from the US. So yeah, I'd have to say it's a mix.
Are there any German companies in your portfolio?
Oh, well, let's see. I mean, so you mean my personal portfolio, or do you mean, okay.
Yeah, personal.
Let's see here. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a big equities person. So I really only do cryptocurrencies. I do cryptocurrencies, I do real estate. And I mean, when I used to work at Incrementum, which is a wealth manager in Liechtenstein, they did commodities. So they did gold, uranium, diamonds, but they didn't do stocks either. So to be honest, I'm not a big stock investor, but even in America, I wouldn't buy stocks. So I'm not, you know, a big, you know, but in terms of private equity, I have private equity in a Swiss company, and I have private equity in I have private equity in 2 Swiss companies. One is a crypto company, one is a cryptocurrency. That has a foundation set up in Switzerland. But besides that, I don't have any German exposure.
Well, too bad, because Berlin has a lot of brilliant startups. For example, advanced blockchain. There are well-known developers. For example, there's Gavin Wood from Polkadot. And have you ever met him or another cryptocurrency guru?
Gavin Wood, I have not met, but I have worked a lot with the Web3 Foundation. So I didn't know if you meant, when I have German companies in my portfolio, if you meant Polkadot or not, but I do have Polkadot. I love Polkadot and Kusama, and I have tons of coins from projects built on top of them. But no, I haven't, but Web3 Foundation in Zug, when I used to be a teacher at the University of Liechtenstein, I would have members of Web3 Foundation come and teach some of the courses in my blockchain course. So a lot of students found out about Polkadot in 2018. So it was a great, I hope that some of them, you know, followed up on Polkadot. But yeah, that's true. Gavin Wood's in Berlin. You have Parity Labs. So you have Jutta, what's the woman founder of Parity Labs? I think it's Jutta. Okay, no, I don't know. I can't remember her last name right now, but she's there in Berlin. Then you have the co-founder of Ethereum. What's his name? He's doing Lusco now. Fabian Fabian
Okay.
Forrest, he created the ERC20 token. Sorry, he wasn't the co-founder of Ethereum, but he created the ERC20 protocol that all the, dApps are basically using on top of Ethereum. So no, I agree. There's Berlin is a huge hub. And then where's that one cafe I've never been to, but it accepts Bitcoin? I've heard so much about it.
I don't know the name of the cafe, but I heard about it.
Okay. There, I have a friend from Bitwala, Jorg, from Bitwala, and he told me that there was a cafe and they did a lot of crypto events, but I've never made it there, unfortunately.
You mean Nuri? Bitwala's changed the name. It's Nuri now.
Oh,
and
yeah. Rebranded.
Yeah, they rebranded and they're just having a female CEO now, Christina Meyer-Walken.
Okay.
And we just met her last week, Matthias and me. So we just got informed that Bitwala changed the name to Nuri. Anyway, do you have a personal guideline that makes it easier for you to come up with a decision in what cryptocurrency to invest?
Ooh, that's interesting. I mean, yikes. I don't really have a guideline. I should be more maybe regimented and disciplined, but to be honest, there's so many. Okay, I had a guideline when I was at Incrementum, and we looked at coins, for example. They had to have a market cap over 500 million because we didn't want to, risk investors' funds if we had to pull out in case of a liquidity crisis. We had a rule that they needed to be traded on at least 2 exchanges. And this was so that if one exchange got shut down by a government, if it was located in the US or something and they got shut down, we could still close out our positions on another exchange. And we had a rule that the coin had to be on the market for at least 1 year so that, any problems with the protocol code would be kind of discovered within that first year, hacks and problems with the code. But to be honest, the problem is that so many new projects come, and if you don't get in kind of early, you miss out on a lot of the excitement and a lot of the gains. So when I left Incrementum and was no longer managing a regulated alternative investment fund, my own portfolio was a lot riskier, let's put it that way. But on the other hand, more risk, more return, and we've been in a bull market, so it's done quite well. But maybe some of those risk prevention measures would be good, with part of my portfolio.
Hot or not, what do you think about Doge?
Oh no, I'm not a fan. No, I'm an old Bitcoiner. It's really hard for me to see this stuff. I every time I try to convince someone of blockchain, they're like, yeah, but what about that joke coin? And then I'm like, oh, really? I can't explain it. I mean, the only thing I can say is that the government has printed so much money that all asset classes are a joke right now. I mean, they're all overvalued. They're all overpriced. Money is flying everywhere. I mean, I've been working for Cointelegraph now for a year and a half. And we just did a report on blockchain venture capital. Okay, so I had to reach out to Tim Draper and Andreessen Horowitz and Dan Moorhead from Pantera, and I had to discuss what they thought of the industry at the moment. And they said that it doesn't matter how much money you have. The problem is finding the good projects to invest in, because let's say that a new cryptocurrency company is up and coming and they want to raise 2.5 million. Well, it gets filled so quickly that a lot of investors can't even get in to the first round, to the pre-seed or to the Series A, because there's so much capital flying around right now that the harder problem to find is a good investment. So, I mean, one that can last in the long term, not just a short term, pump and dump. So I think, right now we have Doge, we have a lot of like hyped up coins that can get famous basically by just releasing a bunch of Twitter bots. And I think that in the long term, once Bitcoin becomes maybe the sound money or the reserve asset of the world, or we somehow return to a sound money monetary system around the world, I don't think, I think people are going to be a lot more careful about where they put their money.
Going beyond the world of crypto, what would be your ultimate investment advice?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, don't get me started on that because I have to tell my husband that every week. So the same thing over and over again. I mean, what it is that a lot of people make gains. Okay. And then they say they get really, like, let's say, overconfident, and they start to think, I'm a really good investor. I made 100x last year. I made 200x last year. You know, I bought Doge and it went up 3x, and then they're super excited and they think they did a good job. Well, I've been watching this in financial markets since I was a child because my parents were in finance as well. And whenever the bull market is in place, whenever central banks are printing money, everybody thinks they're a brilliant investor. Because to be honest, all you have to do is buy and hold and you make money, okay? And if you start to do more complicated strategies, you might make even more money. I mean, you might lose some too. But my point is that in a bull market, everybody thinks they're great. And then all of a sudden, the bear market comes. A snowflake hits the monetary system, and all of a sudden everything goes into deflation and people start defaulting, and all of a sudden the crypto market's down 50, 60, 70% and people are freaking out. And then they say, oh, I wish I would have sold. So my main point is that I always realize gains. I'm always realizing gains, and I am re-diversifying into completely different asset classes. Okay, so for example, the other day, I picked up a farm. Okay, I bought an ethanol and corn, soy farm. I don't like soy, but that's what it's producing. But anyways, I invested in farmland. Okay, I have lots of single family homes, duplexes, and commercial property, but I bought a farm, and farmland is the most boring, least sexy investment there is possible. It's so ugly of an investment, but it's stable. It provides yield. You have your crop, you have your rental income from the crop, and it provides yield over time. And the land's value is stable. So my main point would be take your gains. And the way I do gains is I basically every day, I almost take out 1% in the bull market. As we're going up, I take out 1% of my crypto portfolio every day. And then at the end of the month, I put it into something else. So basically stockpile cash, and then I go out and buy another asset of a different type of, asset class. So, and here's the thing, the reason for that is, yes, I don't make as much. For example, I sold some crypto last week, and then of course this week we had a great run up, and I'm thinking, oh, I left money on the table. But on the other hand, it makes me feel much better that I've actually realized gains, and so I know when the bear market comes, I'm not going to lose everything because I have slowly diversified out. So I would say my main investment advice is diversification. That's for me the key to long-term financial stability.
Great, Demelza.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm just the next part. Matthias.
Yes, that's very good because Demelza, you are still years in the cryptocurrency scene. You are, I don't know when you started there, but my first question would be, when did you first time heard about Bitcoin, and when did you really completely understand the Bitcoin and the network and the blockchain behind? And when did you then bought your first Satoshis and your first Bitcoin?
Oh, wow. This is really, I got to remember so far back now. I'm getting to be so old. It's hard, but so basically I was working for the US Department of State in India, and we were studying their microfinance program. So they had Grameen Bank, I don't remember his name, but he won a Nobel Prize for giving loans to small
Bangladesh, I think, or something.
Yeah, the Bangladeshi man, exactly, with Grameen Bank. And my job was to go around to these villages and collect data on who was repaying, who wasn't repaying, What were they investing in? What were their returns? I mean, it was eye-opening experience to see how these women were using the startup loans. And it was also an eye-opening experience to see how disorganized the government was and how they didn't have any good record keeping of who was in default, and people were taking out new loans with new names, and it was a big mess. I mean, actually, when I went to one village, all of their loans were just stacked up in papers all the way up to the ceiling of loan applications. Like none of it was digital, basically. And I started Googling microfinance and basically reading about it in my free time. And this was 2013. And a lot of people were writing, oh, there's a new cryptocurrency and this could solve the microfinance problem. And this was when the fees on Bitcoin, you could still insert a transaction with no fee on Bitcoin and it would still get picked up eventually, you know, after a couple blocks. So basically fees were either low or zero. And of course that whole discussion changed. And after, you know, a couple of years when fees went up, that's when other coins came in like Dash and even Doge, people were saying transaction fees are lower there, and Litecoin. And so, you know, and then Bitcoin Cash, of course, and the big debate we have going on now. But originally I got into Bitcoin because I thought it could help with microfinance. I was coming from a, you know, more of a philanthropical background. And then around 2014, I started to invest in Bitcoin. And it was right after Bitcoin hit 1,200, I put all my savings into Bitcoin. And that was at the price of 600. And then after that, the price dropped to 150 and it stayed at 150 for about 15 months. Like it was around that range for about a year and a half. And I basically every month I had to pay my rent. So I had to sell Bitcoin at a loss. And I was just selling Bitcoin at a loss, taking on losses. And I had to decide, do I want to stay in this or do I want to get out, cut my losses, and go invest in something else? And that's when I started reading about Bitcoin every single day, researching it, understanding all the debates. And my family comes from an Austrian economics background. I don't know if you guys kind of talk about Austrian economics the way we do in America, but we distinguish between mainstream economics like Keynes and Austrian economics, which are a lot of thinkers that were based in Vienna. So we basically refer to them as the Austrian School of Economics. Do you guys have that discussion?
We distinguish this as well in economics. Okay. So I just, yeah, it's not the Keynesianism, it's the other way.
School of Economics.
Yeah, Mises and Hayek and Menger. And these, so I grew up from a family that were staunch advocates of the Austrian School of Economics, believe it or not, for the last 40, 50 years. And so when I moved to Liechtenstein in Austria, it was just, I mean, it was crazy because I could, you know, I spoke to so many people that didn't really discuss it the way we discuss it in America. I mean, here it's really a controversy. If you go apply for a job, like I just finished my PhD in business economics. And if I go apply for a job here to teach economics, I cannot say that I like the Austrian School of Economics, because that is very controversial. That means that I question what the central bank is doing. That means that I question the concepts of the natural monopoly and why the government should have monopolies in certain industries. It's a very controversial thing to say, even to the point where I should not publish my research in journals that are friendly towards the Austrian School of Economics. So anyways, long story short, so my family were basically gold bugs. And when I started finding out about Bitcoin, I thought, okay, this is it. You know, this is digital gold. This is what my generation's going to use. And that's why I went all in. And that's when that's why I stayed all in over the last decade.
It is such an amazing story. Your CV or your Vita is really amazing. And but now I can a little bit understand better why Forbes picked you up at the 30s, 30 under 30. I think that is really a huge graduation for your lifetime and in your whole career. But how did your life change after that graduation? Let me say so.
Well, let's see. I mean, I was honored by that award. I didn't expect it. And I mean, I'd have to say after that, you know, you get a few people that reach out and ask for interviews. You do get invited to special events. Unfortunately, I got it the year right before COVID. So all the events, like there was a special event in Berlin I was going to go to, and then one in Israel, but I didn't make it to either of those. But now they're going to start those events up, and there's like alumni programs where, you know, you can, if you're starting up a business and you're looking for co-founders or even venture capital, there's different resources that the alumni group can basically help with. So I haven't tapped into those resources yet, but I do think that, you know, it's a nice award, and I think there's a lot of deserving people who deserve that award, and actually a lot of crypto people that have just stayed true for so long and have managed to build successful companies. So I'm happy to be in that cohort.
You're still sharing your enormous education about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in your special report, which is available since 2017, I think, and still going on. How was the idea for this report, and why is it your education baby, or your thing to do?
Yeah. Oh, well, great question, Matthias. I mean, basically, I've always been a writer. So even when I was young, I was a writer. And when I joined Incrementum has they're a licensed asset manager, and they cannot advertise their professional funds to retailers or to the public in general because of laws like MiFID II that restrict how you can advertise professional funds. So a lot of companies that have professional funds will do other things. For example, they'll sponsor a polo match, you know, or they'll sponsor a tennis match or something like that. And then they're hoping that wealthy people in the audience will see their advertisement and then call them directly. So they can't say, hey guys, come invest in our, you know, cryptocurrency fund. But they can say, hey, we have a crypto research report. We're experts in this domain. We have authority in this domain. And we hope that if you have a lot of money, you'll call us up. So that's how it got started. And when I left Incrementum, I basically transitioned that report to Cointelegraph. And now we do 2 reports per year with Cointelegraph, where they basically help with the distribution, because Cointelegraph has such a massive audience. They're getting about 1 million views per day right now, which is just, it's the largest in terms of views per a crypto media outlet. And so when I publish a report on their website, I get so much more feedback. I get lots of comments. We can track all the downloads. So it's a lot better for publishing. But yeah, I mean, that is still, like you said, my baby. And I love to write down, you know, the latest research and, you know, my latest research topics and latest ideas. And the team has grown. Now we have 10 people with Cointelegraph's help. So we have a lot more firepower. So we're quicker to the punch. But, you know, it's still a hard space, because you have, for example, like I have, I send out physical copies of the report to all sorts of incubators, like Factory 300 in Graz, and, you know, Trust Square in Zurich, and CVVC Labs in Zug. So I send out hard copies places. Well, I'm not going to say which location, but one edition, I wrote a little bit of a, you know, kind of a bad, like a negative analysis of XRP and Ripple. And I said, I think they're going to be investigated to become to be a security. And this was like 2 years before the whole SEC thing started. And people were like, no, it's impossible. There's no way it's a security. It's impossible. Why are you saying this? And I even had people threaten me online that said, you need to take all this content offline. And then, because people, like, they got a lot of money in this thing, right? I mean, this is like, you know, some people are leveraged 100x on this kind of stuff, and they're losing money that could pay for their mortgage at home. So it's a huge risk. And anyways, one of the places where I ship out copies to was heavily invested in XRP. And so they like moved the magazine to like kind of like really hidden place, you know, like behind, so nobody could really see it. So, but that's fair. That's fair for them, you know, but it's, you have to be careful what you write, because people won't distribute your report if you don't, you know, put more coals in their furnace, so to speak.
But the SEC proves you right. So you are, you just wrote the right thing only 2 years before the SEC just put out the news. So that's, yeah, they are not funny guys, the XRP army. I know them. It's not very well working with them. So
do you think that it's a happy end with XRP?
Well, I think it's a great way for the founders of XRP to, you know, easily get out of not making any of their promises come true. So, I mean, they're the wealth. I think one of them is like, now he's in the top 10 list of wealthiest people in the world. So, I mean, the founders are, you know, it's going to be a happy ending for them for sure.
Yeah, they have a very good marketing. So let me say that. Ripple, Bitcoin, they are just one or two cryptocurrencies. Can you just think about the number of different cryptocurrencies you have in your portfolio? Are there hundreds, 1,000, or what do you think?
No, I'm more right now. I have about 25 to 30. So I have a newsletter, and I show everyone my trades and my portfolio in there, and I haven't updated it in the last 3 months. But because I haven't done much trading the last couple months, but I am going to probably make a portfolio on one of these really cool decentralized asset management applications pretty soon. So for example, there's D-Hedge on Ethereum, Solrise on Solana, and Prismatic on Algorand. And these basically allow you to show your portfolio to everyone, manage assets for other people. It's kind of just like Melonport, which became Enigma, which was a big project in Zug for a while. And anyway, so I think I'm going to switch over to that so that people can just see my trades, and I'm very transparent there. One of the coins I'm really excited about, I mean, I'm really excited, of course, everyone's excited about Solana right now. So it's like, it was Solana summer, now it's Solana season. It's basically going to be Solana, you know, for the next couple months, I think. I'm really excited about all of their projects. And then I'm also excited about Polkadot. To be honest, I think there's so much talent, developer talent invested in Polkadot. And that's what I think makes the difference. It's if you really have developers or not, because developers are that brain power that not everyone, you know, even if I wanted to become a developer, I couldn't, because I don't have 135 IQ, you know, so I'm not going to be able to do that. So I think that's what I would chase the most, is who has the developers, because everybody can get capital in this market. Everybody can get, you know, a website developer, but nobody, you know, it's really hard to get a developer that can code, you know, smart contracts, code dexes, build, you know, swap engines. That's actually where, you know, people, if they build it wrong, you're going to have catastrophic losses on your platform. So I'm most excited about Polkadot and Solana. And I mean, I like Bitcoin Smart Chain, Binance Smart Chain as well. But that also has a lot of centralization. So it's, you know, it's might not be the right chain for a lot of Bitcoin maximalists and people that really care about decentralization.
As you know, I'm a true fan of you. I'm just following you for your social media activities. I think at least 4 years. I'm a subscriber of your newsletter, and I'm reading all the reports you published, which are really for free. So please, I will share also the links to this video, because this education is a free thing. You just have to take your time, sit down and read these really very good reports, and they help you to understand the things better in the cryptocurrency scene. And that brings me to the next question, education, because what would you suggest young people if they want to take or to make their first steps into this young scene? Should they stay focused at the technical aspects, or should they stay more focused at the economic aspects? What would you suggest young people?
Ooh, good question. And I am mentoring a few people that are younger and want to get into this space. So I have looked into this a little bit, and it depends on what their interests are, what their capacity is. For example, I'll just say, I know a lot of mathematicians that different projects have hired. They've hired a PhD mathematician to build their token economic model. But if the mathematician is a Keynesian and doesn't understand why people don't want to hold money that inflates, then, I mean, that has a massive inflation, a little bit of inflation, okay, but like a massive inflation rate, then that mathematician, even though he's a genius, is not going to be able to build a token economics model that investors want to invest in. So you have to have an idea of economics if you're going to be, devising consensus mechanisms or token economic models for going live with your project. If you are going to be more on the writing side, which is where I'm at, you need to understand how to pull data from different blockchain explorers, and that means understanding how to use APIs and pulling data from APIs, and then being able to plot that data in good-looking visualization softwares like Plotly or Tableau. So you need to be comfortable with data analysis and pulling inferences out of the data, interesting perspectives, and that also helps to understand economics as the foundation for that writing. And then outside of that, I mean, if you want to go into development, like really, programming the smart contracts and the various decentralized applications, then, you need to study Rust, Go, you need to study C++. You really need to study the programming languages themselves. And I actually I like the Even on Tech course. I think the Even on Tech course is helpful for even me as a outsider to get to know the basics of the programming, for example, in Solidity on Ethereum. So I would say, people that want to go, and I think that's where we need the most talent. We need more developer talent in this space. That's what a lot is holding us back, from getting to ETH 2.0 faster, or from getting Polkadot launched faster. We need more developers. So that would be my kind of, top.
But that is the hardest part for me as a former banker. I'm come from the economic side, and it's really hard for me, the technical side, just to have an overview, or to have the little understanding how things can work out in this new kind of blockchains like Polka or Solana. This is really completely new. Solana is only in 1 year on the market, so that this is. It's so many things you have to read every day, and it's very hard to understand. So for me as an economic. So, but the discussion line comes with Bitcoin. El Salvador now as a legal tender. Bitcoin is in everybody's mouth. And we see two different kind of groups in the cryptocurrency scene. The guys and the girls who say Bitcoin only. Yeah, this is the only asset, the only crypto asset. There is nothing else. So all the altcoins, they are only little tiny projects, and Bitcoin is the only thing. What do you think about this discussion that there are so completely different type of two fan group or fan bases? And what do you think about the discussion about Bitcoin only?
Well, I came to understand my own predispositions by writing these research reports, because every time a new topic came out, like when Ethereum first came out, I was like, oh no way. I'm a Bitcoiner, you know? And then after 6 months, after a year, the ideas slowly worked their way on me. And I started to think, okay, maybe there's some interesting things here. And then after a while, I said, okay, I'll buy some. Then when DeFi came out, I said, oh no, not DeFi, you know, no way. And, you know, and then when NFTs came out, I was like, no, this is horrible. This is never going to make any sense to anyone. Why would anybody buy this? Security tokens, any topic that comes to the crypto space, the natural tendency for humans is to say no. And then after a while, they start to think, okay, maybe. And writing these research reports, my first impression is always like, I don't want to write a report on security tokens. Like, I know there's nothing interesting here. And then as I start to research the topic, it's really interesting. It's like, wow, okay, they're actually, you know, there's actually successful, for example, with security tokens. People in countries like in Indonesia, where it's hard for them to buy shares of a stock because their capital markets don't have good property rights, they can buy a coin that represents a stock that's listed on an exchange in a country that has strong property rights. So all of a sudden, all these people in Indonesia can now get exposure to equity of income producing companies because in a strong property rights and strong capital market country. I mean, this is so massive, you know, how this can change. I mean, now, of course, governments don't want this to happen. They don't want people in various countries to be able to invest easily in the securities of other countries. But that's what's happening with this technology. It's borderless and it's limitless. So I have found so many interesting things. And then NFTs, for example, another topic. But going back to your question, my point is that I would not say it's Bitcoin only, because there's so much potential of this technology. And maybe it's Bitcoin only for reserve asset, maybe. I'm not even sure about that. But outside of reserve asset, there's so much other applications that I think it doesn't behoove an investor to ignore the other applications. So I'm very open-minded. Well, as much as I can be. I'm still hesitant when a new topic comes out, as you know, as is natural, hesitant to change. But I've realized now how my own impression changes as I begin to dig deeper into these topics, and so that's why I've come to the understanding of my own bias, my own negative bias towards change, and that's something I have to address on a constant basis to make sure I realize, okay, I'm only anti this idea because that's the first time I've heard it.
Okay. Demelza, thank you so much for this really exciting interview, for your insights, and thank you for your time and answering our question. Thank you very much.
Matthias and Kate, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to following both of you on YouTube.
Cool.
Thank you. We hope you liked the video, and we have something for you, a new Materialist Magazine. It's a progressive thinking source for private wealth and personal lifestyle. Unfortunately, it's in German only, so if you want to have this magazine, just leave us a message and write Materialist Magazine in hashtag. And
okay.
We're just sending it to you and hoping to see you soon on Finanzdiva.de and Rette dein Geld. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.